Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Danielle Martin. I have the privilege of serving as the Member of Parliament for this wonderful community. And it's my privilege to welcome you all here and to begin by acknowledging that we are here today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, which continues to be home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Ça me fait grand plaisir de vous accueillir ici au cœur de University Rosedale in the heart of downtown Toronto and to welcome some very special guests. Thrilled to welcome Minister Joël Lightbound, the Minister of Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement and Lieutenant du Quebec, Minister Nina Tangri, Ontario's Associate Minister of Small Business, Karim Bardisi, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry, the Honourable Mélanie Joly, and Grace Lee Reynolds, CEO of Mars Discovery District. And we are also, of course, joined by so many leaders and innovators here in the core of the city, and a special shout out to the Mars interns, the young people who are the future of our small and medium size enterprises in Canada. We're so thrilled in particular that they are here. So thank you all for your leadership in supporting Canadian businesses and innovators, and it's of course such a beautiful space and such an important place that we're gathered in here at Mars Discovery District, where innovation happens in real time and where we would launch 1,000 ships into the world of Canadian innovation. That is, in fact, of course, what today's announcement is all about. On dit souvent que les PME sont la colonne vertébrale de l'économie canadienne. We often say that it's the spinal cord of Canadian industry, small and medium enterprises, and that's why it's so important to reflect on what governments can do to support small and medium businesses as we think about the transformation of government, which is why I'm so pleased to invite Minister Joël Lightbound, Minister of Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement, to share today's announcement on behalf of the Government of Canada.
Merci beaucoup, Danielle, pour cette belle présentation. Thank you, Karim, for being here. Minister Tangri, it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. Grace, thank you for having us here at Mars. If one of your startups here that you support at Mars can find solution to traffic in Toronto, I would have been here on time. But it's a real pleasure, and it's a real pleasure to be here at Mars. It's my second time here, and it's amazing the work that's been accomplished here, supporting thousands of startups and businesses over the last 25 years, founded in 2001. So it's really incredible to be here. And Mars is an important reminder that Canada isn't short on ideas, it isn't short on talent either. But we do have some challenges, and one realization is that behind every company, behind every startup, there's a story. There's someone who saw an opportunity. There's someone who took a leap, who decided not to wait for permission. Someone and some group of people who elected not just to participate in the economy, but to build it, to create jobs, to create innovation, and to make Canada competitive. But the thing is, SMEs across the country, whether it be in my home region of Quebec City or here in Toronto, they're not a side story to Canada's economy. As Danielle pointed out, they are the backbone of this economy. They are Canada's story, and they are Canada's economy. But we have to be honest about what stands in their way. It's not just markets or competition. It is complexity, it is paperwork, it is systems that feel like they were designed for government and not for the people trying to work with it. And that has to change. Government should not feel like a maze you have to get through. It should feel and be a partner that helps you move faster, not slower. And this is what today is about, by making procurement work for SMEs. To put things in perspective, the Government of Canada is the biggest buyer in this country, full stop. Every year, we spend roughly $67 billion on goods, services, and construction. That's not just a budget line, that's an economic power. And the question for us is simple. Does it work for Canadians? Can we do more to leverage the power of public markets, to drive innovation in Canada, and to work for Canadian businesses? This is what the Buy Canadian policy is about. It says that when the federal government spends, that money should do more than just buy products. It should build capacity here at home. It should strengthen Canadian supply chains. It should support Canadian workers, and it should open doors to Canadian firms. And we're already seeing momentum. Since just a few short months when we announced Buy Canadian in December, over 14 contracts worth close to $1 billion have gone through Buy Canadian. We've also lowered this past month the threshold for procurement from 25 million to 5 million. Because if we want more Canadian participation, we have to open more of the system to Canadian companies, including smaller SMEs. But the thing is, access on paper is not the same as access in practice. Because you can be qualified, you can be ready, you can be competitive, and still you can get left out because the system is too complicated, too inconsistent, and too burdensome to navigate. And this is what we're fixing this morning. With new measures that I'm proud to announce under the Small Business Procurement Program. This is about changing the default, making it easier for small businesses to actually show up, compete, and win. Requirements from there on should be clear, proportional, and focused on what matters. Second, we're modernizing the experience with better digital tools, including our chatbot Procura, so that businesses are not stuck trying to interpret government language to find an opportunity or understand how to apply. And third, we're standardizing procurement documents across government. Because every time the format changes, every time the rules shift slightly, it's time taken away from businesses that should be building, hiring, and growing. And we're not stopping here. Today, I'm also announcing, on behalf of my colleague, Minister Mélanie Joly, close to $80 million over 5 years for Innovative Solutions Canada, and my colleague Karen Bardisi will speak more to it. And what's interesting about Innovative Solutions Canada, ISC, is that this program changes the role of government in innovation. It takes government from being just a buyer at the end of the process to being the first customer at the beginning. It helps Canadian small businesses and innovators develop, test, and validate their technologies in real conditions with the federal government as a launch partner. And that matters because the biggest barrier for many innovators is not the quality of their idea, it's getting that first chance to prove it. And this program, ISC, fixes that. It gives company that first validation, that first proof point, that first real-world credibility that turns an idea into a business. And it follows from what I've heard in my role as procurement minister for more than a year now, time and time again, that a contract is always better than a grant. And as we move to simplify, we'll also go further by the end of this year with plain language summaries of tenders so businesses can easily understand opportunities, a tell us once system so businesses are not repeating themselves, pre-submission checks to catch issues early, and a supplier recognition approach so strong performers get more opportunities. All of this also comes from what we've heard directly from businesses across the country, that procurement is too complex, too slow, and too inconsistent. To conclude, I think this is an interesting moment in Canada's history. We're a country of builders and innovators, from advanced manufacturing and aerospace to clean energy, AI, and life sciences. Canada is already competing and winning in the industries that will define the future. And what I see in this last year with Buy Canadian, across the government, but also in corporation, is that there is a strong desire to seek and to find Canadian solutions. And the good news is we have the talent, we have the ideas, and we have the entrepreneurs. We have them here at Mars, and we have them across the country. Et je suis très heureux aujourd'hui qu'avec cette annonce, on encourage nos innovateurs à aller plus loin avec le gouvernement du Canada comme partenaire. Je vous remercie infiniment pour votre accueil et pour votre attention. Passez une belle journée. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Minister. And I'll now invite Minister Nina Tangri, Ontario's Associate Minister of Small Business, to share her remarks.
Well, good morning, everyone. Bonjour. And I want to thank Minister Lightbound, Parliamentary Secretary Bardisi, and MP Martin for the significant announcement that will support small businesses here in Ontario. And I want to thank Mars again for inviting us here. I'm a bit of a frequent flyer at this place, so it is wonderful to be back here again. So a buy local approach is a critical strategy to secure both economic resilience and self-reliance at a very pivotal moment for all Canadians. Prioritizing Ontario-made and Canadian-made goods and services will help reduce impacts from global supply disruptions, supply and support domestic production, and ensure public and private spending benefits Ontario workers and businesses. Simply put, keeping Canadian dollars in the local economy is how Ontario is putting local businesses, workers, and supply chains first. That's why, last November, Ontario introduced the Buy Ontario Act. Now law, the legislation enables procurement directives that require public sector entities to give preference to Ontario or Canadian-made goods and services provided in Ontario or Canada. It builds on the work we started in 2022 through the Building Ontario Business Initiatives. It leverages the province's purchasing power to build local capacity, protect jobs, and it supports Ontario's businesses amidst trade uncertainty and a rapidly changing global economy. Every year, the province spends more than $30 billion procuring goods and services that help serve the people of Ontario. We're making sure that every possible procurement dollar that can be spent in Ontario is spent in Ontario. On a federal scale, the impact of prioritizing domestic procurement and production is even more significant. Our province is home to over 500,000 small businesses who have made Ontario the economic engine of Canada. They're responsible for creating nearly 2.5 million jobs, bringing critical goods and services to the market, and strengthening neighbourhoods we all call home. From ecosystem supports like our province-wide network of small business enterprise centres and regional innovation centres, to targeted programs and supports like Succession Ontario and the Digital Competence Centre. We are providing our entrepreneurs access to advisory services, modernized tools and capital so they can start, scale, and succeed in today's economy. And since being elected in 2018, our government has taken over 650 actions to cut red tape, saving businesses and the broader public sector over $1.2 billion in annual costs. Combining that with other measures, we're providing Ontario businesses with nearly $10 billion in estimated cost savings and supports this year alone. Ontario has become the first and only province to remove all of its exceptions under the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, helping break down internal trade barriers that cost Canada's economy up to $200 billion every year. By keeping taxes low, reducing unnecessary red tape, and making targeted investments, we're creating the conditions for small businesses to succeed here at home and driving long-term economic growth across our province. We're working hard to make Ontario the most competitive economy in the G7, and that includes strengthening local supply chains, supporting homegrown businesses, and driving economic growth across the province. However, that work cannot be done alone. Ongoing global economic uncertainty has been challenging for small businesses in every sector, of every size, in every corner of this province. But through it all, they've shown a spirit of determination, hard work, and ingenuity that's second to none. No matter what, they keep going because they know Team Canada stands behind them. Ontario will continue to work with the federal government at every opportunity to build a stronger Canadian economy and unlock new opportunities for Ontario businesses and workers today and well into the future. I want to thank Minister Lightbound for today's announcement, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Tangri, and I'd now like to invite Parliamentary Secretary Karim Bardisi.
Good day, everybody. Je suis ravi d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. I'm Karim Bardisi, Member of Parliament for Ottawa Parkdale High Park in West Toronto, and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry. This is a moment that I think brings together a lot of what inspired a number of us on the stage to run for office of all parties, which is to defend Canadian sovereignty while building Canadian prosperity. When Minister Lightbound announced the Buy Canadian policy in September, it was frankly the most ambitious policy of its kind that I think a number of us had seen in decades. And now to see the flesh being put on it, an all-of-government approach led by Minister Lightbound, I look forward to chatting with Procura at some point, or encouraging our constituents who are using the system to really engage to help find opportunities for those procurement opportunities that we know exist. And as Minister Lightbound mentioned, as part of this announcement comes $79.9 million over 5 years starting this year through Innovative Solutions Canada in support of the Canadian Small Business Procurement Program. Innovative Solutions Canada, as Minister Lightbound mentioned, is a program that brings entrepreneurs in upfront as governments are working with partners to try to solve real-world problems. Real-world problems that affect millions of Canadians, whether it's a healthcare problem, whether it's a connectivity problem, helping connect young people to future careers. There's so many issues right now that governments are looking to help solve, but they can't do it alone. And so to do that with partners and with small business partners who have such creative ideas is really important. And the Innovative Solutions Canada platform, I think, is a very effective one. Every dollar that Innovative Solutions Canada invests has an approximate $3.50 impact on Canadian GDP. And since its inception, we've had 1,650 grants and contracts been issued through Innovative Solutions Canada, valued at $1 billion, and a really high success rate. 95% of those companies participating in the program are small and medium-sized enterprises, and 74% of supported companies commercialize their technology. 51% of them achieve export of their product. That is, not just having a product sold in Canada, but outside of Canada within 1 year of completing their contract. So this is a really strong platform, and really pleased that the Government of Canada is committing to this as part of the overall Buy Canadian policy. The beneficiaries of this are Toronto companies, innovators. Dr. Martin referred to some of the interns here today, and we've got such great talent here at the University of Toronto, just down the street at DMZ, at TMU, as well as the academic hospitals. There's a real innovation ecosystem in downtown Toronto, which includes entrepreneurs and participants from across the Greater Toronto area. So this is actually a key part of our economic future. And of course, Canadians at large are benefiting from the technologies, from the uplift, from the innovations that are homegrown. So we're very happy on behalf of Innovation, Science and Economic Development and Minister Mene Joly to be making this announcement of further support in this program to help support Canadian innovators and to help solve problems right here in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Parliamentary Secretary Bardisi. And I'd now, to conclude, like to invite Grace Lee Reynolds, CEO of Mars, to say a few words.
Good morning, bonjour, thank you, MP Martin, thank you, Parliamentary Secretary Bardisi. Thank you for your leadership in championing Canadian innovation. I know you two are quite integrated into our ecosystem here, so thank you so much for that. Minister Tangri, it's great to see you. Thank you as well. It's really encouraging to hear how the province and federal forces are aligned together today in the same room and pointed in the same direction on procurement. And of course, Minister Lightbound, thank you for bringing these announcements here to Toronto, here to Mars, and for making small business procurement part of the national conversation. At Mars, we work with over 1,200 technology companies across AI, health, clean tech, advanced manufacturing, including dual-use innovation applications. And every day, we meet companies with proven solutions that are ready to grow. Their biggest challenge, as you've heard today, is often not building the technology, but it's finding their first customer. And so that's why today's announcements are so important. Canada has invested in helping companies pilot their technologies, but too often we've stopped at the pilot. Companies prove their technology, they run successful demonstrations, but then struggle to secure the first commercial contract that allows them to grow. Too many have found it easier to scale somewhere else rather than scaling here at home. So making procurement easier, having the Innovation Solutions Canada platform is a really important first step. Success will be measured not just by how many win their first contract, but then further by how many then win their second and their third. And at Mars, along with other partners in the ecosystem, we've been focused on what it takes to make that happen. We need procurement processes that reward results. Procurement that is genuinely outcomes-based, that's open and fair and transparent, so a smaller or newer company can win on the strength of the results it can deliver. It takes, we've heard too, infrastructure, a way to make Canadian innovation discoverable, comparable, and procurement ready so that every department and every buyer in the Canadian government isn't searching for Canadian innovation from zero. And we need greater confidence in adopting Canadian innovation once that it's already been proven. In many cases, the risk isn't the technology, but it's our perception of the risk. And that's a culture shift as much as a policy one. So if we can address those barriers, and I think we are taking steps towards that, we're creating something much more valuable than just a successful procurement process. We create the conditions for Canadian companies to grow here, to secure customers here, and to strengthen our economy from here. And then you can see too that procurement goes well beyond the act of purchasing. When the government buys Canadian, it doesn't just help one company, it signals to the rest of the market, to corporate buyers, to investors, to international partners, that Canadian innovation is worth betting on. And it gives Canadian companies the credibility they need to compete globally. So to the Minister, to MPP Tangri, MP Martin, Parliamentary Secretary Bardisi, to everyone in this room, thank you so much for putting this issue on the public agenda today. Now the opportunity is to turn this into lasting change, more first customers, more repeat customers, and more Canadian companies choosing to grow in Canada. Thank you.
Well, I believe this concludes the formal agenda. We'll be doing a quick photo, and then I believe there will be a media availability immediately following. Thank you all for coming, and look forward to all of the amazing work that this will generate for us to do together. Thanks, everyone.